A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, to this symposium on disruptions organized by the Institute of Chinese Buddhism. If we could ask everyone to gather and to settle down.
I'm Hwee.
And I'm Hwee Kit, and we are very, very honored to MC today's symposium on disruptions.
Just to share a little bit about ourselves, Brother Kit was the president of the NUS Buddhist Society and is still very actively involved in Buddhist and interfaith work.
Okay, and well, Sister Carmen was the president of the NUS, National University of Singapore Buddhist Society, before me. And till now, she is still, as you can see from today, still involved in a great variety of events, Buddhist-related and otherwise.
And now that we have graduated, I'm glad that we have another thing in common, which is that both of us are educators. So being in this industry, we experience disruptions all the time.
Oh my goodness. Yes, we certainly do. In schools, at work, outside, we experience disruptions on a daily basis.
Things will never go as planned.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The thing is, as I always tell my students, disruptions are something that's part and parcel of life, right? And we live in a world that is characterized by the acronym VUCA, right? I ask my students, so what does that mean, right? It's volatile, it's complex, it's ambiguous, it's uncertain. But that's the nature of the world today, and that's just the kind of environment that we have to navigate.
Yes, Kit. So this is why we are having this symposium on disruptions this weekend. This symposium is organized by the Institute of Chinese Buddhism, ICB. It is a not-for-profit company with the intention to cultivate the teachings of Chinese Buddhism, and it strives to provide the English-speaking community with opportunities to learn and grow.
So we're very, very grateful to the Institute of Chinese Buddhism for putting together this symposium, because we're going to be tackling some of these very complex and difficult but very timely questions. How can we better navigate the challenges that we face so that we can be more successful and effective in the world today? Now, at this point, of course, we have just a few housekeeping announcements just to alert everyone to. Okay, so we'd like to remind all participants to switch your mobile phones to silent mode, because we want to be mindful of all speakers, all moderators, and of each other. And of course, in the interest of going green and doing our part for the environment, we're trying to go as paperless as possible to reduce paper wastage. And that means you can download that e-program right from your smartphone. So if you see your tag, you'll notice that there's a QR code right there. You can scan it using a QR code reader on your smartphones. And because I think the vast majority of participants will have those, such technology, so you will be able to access that program. So please do check out that program. And also, we have an online form for you to submit any questions that you have about subsequent sessions. So this form will close half an hour before each session commences. So please do check out that link right there.
Yes, the link is on the screen over here. The two topics for the questions will be dealing with life disruption and crisis, and also the spiritual values and attitudes in addressing the challenges. So if you have any questions about that or anything to share, you may go to the link provided and do your sharing. Yes.
And if we could just remind everyone that if you need any water, we have water right at the back of the room, so please help yourselves. That's a water station. Also, if you need any writing materials, we have pens as well. Please do just get it from there. The restrooms are at the side. I feel like I'm a flight attendant, like showing at the side, like that. Yeah, but likewise, of course, in case of any emergency, please do not panic. Please be mindful, right? We will, of course, proceed out in an orderly fashion, but we are all going to be all right, rest assured. Yes.
Yes, and I'm sure we're all looking forward to listening to our speakers today. We would also like everyone to participate actively, smile at the people around you, interact with your fellow participants, ask questions during the Q&A, and most importantly, please do enjoy the program.
Yes, and speaking of the program, we have a very exciting lineup of speakers, and they'll be speaking on a wide variety of topics, and that will be ranging from dealing with crises to how to have the right spiritual values to address the changes at hand, or in terms of just how to take charge of your own destiny. So I think we're all very, very excited about hearing what our speakers have to say today.
And for our opening address, we have Mr. Chng, Organizing Committee Chairman of the Institute of Chinese Buddhism, to address us today.
So may we invite Mr. Chng, please.
Thank you.
Good morning. Before I start, I want to thank you for supporting this event, but I also want to say sorry for those whom we have to disappoint them, because we have full house. And my colleague, Zanan Te, was busy receiving calls, trying to come in, but we really can't, and I want to apologize for this. Because we have a travel fair held at the same time during these 2 days. And even if we want to have another room or to have more chairs, the owner say no, fire hazard. So I'm afraid we have to disappoint quite a number of them who can't join because we have a full house. But that gives us an encouragement, and we also want to encourage those who find this symposium interesting to book early. Thank you. Honorable advisors of the Institute of Chinese Buddhism, Venerable Sheng, Venerable Professor Hwee, distinguished Venerable Professor Dhamajoti, distinguished speakers, and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. The socio-economic impact of countries outside Greater China in Asia has changed drastically over the last 2 decades. Living standards has actually improved with rising income level. The quench for foreign trade and foreign investment and trade to fuel economic growth has also brought the prevalence of English language, hence the proliferation of Western culture that follows. At the same time, it is observed that Chinese Buddhism community in most of these countries are still embracing the traditional way of Buddha Dharma propagation, focusing on accustomed rituals and utilizing inherited resources, or in Chinese language. There's nothing wrong, but what we feel that there is another option to do it better to reach the younger generation. Many of them are facing constraints from scarcity of resources that include teaching staff and otherwise in the use of English to propagate Buddha Dharma. The mismatch may risk affecting the community's ability to continue attracting younger congregation, hence its long-term sustainability. Chinese Buddhism is very rich in its culture and pedagogy. It is not just a religion, it is a way of life. In Chinese Buddhism, we discovered that its practice and profound meditation tradition has become an important resource for psychotherapists to deploy the increasingly popular mindfulness mind mental training. In Chinese Buddhism, we also see similarity in the description of the outer space and the universal with the Milky Way as discovered by astronomers. The Institute of Chinese Buddhism, or in short, IC Buddhism, this is our logo, intends to participate in bridging this gap and bring Chinese Buddhism closer to you, and in particular to the younger generation. The curriculum, pedagogy, and delivery will be in English with a contemporary approach. This is done so with the intention of spreading Chinese Buddhism as a way of life and make Chinese Buddhism a religion which everyone and anyone, especially the youth, can easily relate to and associate it with. Towards this, IC Buddhism is collaborating with 2 reputed Chinese Buddhism institutions, the Buddhist College of Singapore, or BCS, under the Gongming Sampo Kaxi, or popularly known as the Bright Hill Temple. Venerable Sheng is the rector of BCS and the abbot of Pokaksi. The Dharma Drum Institute of Liberal Art, or DILA in short, under the Dharma Drum Mountain from Taiwan, is another partner of IC Buddhism. And Venerable Professor Hwee is the president of DILA. Given the right opportunity, IC Buddhism is also keen to work with other great institutions like Tzu Chi and Kwang University to enhance its capability and ability to reach out to the younger generation. Although IC Buddhism aspires to be an epitome of these great institutions, it has no ambition for scholarly pursuit. It chooses to be a hub by leveraging necessary resources from various collaborative partners to achieve its mission of promoting Chinese Buddhism in English, and with a contemporary approach and delivery. The symposium is a fine example of IC Buddhism's aspiration. The professors are creme de la creme of subject matters, and the businessmen and medical practitioners of Chinese Buddhism is in a real life dimension. Moving forward, IC Buddhism needs your support in whatever way you can offer. As a start, your presence in this symposium is a strong motivation to encourage us in this journey. I hope you enjoy the presentation and panel discussions that follows. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chng.
Thank you. We'll now like to invite Venerable Kwang on stage. Venerable Kwang is the founder of the Buddhist College of Singapore and the Honorary Advisor of the Institute of Chinese Buddhism.
Venerable Kwang, please.
Good morning, dear fellow members of the Sheng and fellow Buddhists, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor to be here with such a wonderful assembly of distinguished religious leaders, renowned scholars, and above all, dedicated fellow Buddhists. Excuse me. It's of a great delight for me to speak a few words at this wonderful gathering due to the befitting theme of this symposium, that is disruptions. Perhaps it may be convenient for me to begin with a familiar story of Buddha. As many of you may know, before his enlightenment, the Buddha traveled around the 4 city gates where he encountered 4 signs of existence. First, an old man with a fragile body, a sick man with a miserable conditions, and third, a dead man who was surrounded by mourning relatives. And finally, the Buddha encountered a religious man whose calmness lay an everlasting impression upon him. We all know that the first 3 signs represented the miseries of the world as a result of the flux nature of all existence. But the 4th sign, that is, the calm and mindful religious man, gave the Buddha a glimpse of hope. The hope being that despite all, there's a way out of all the worldly miseries. In retrospect, that was precisely what Buddha did, sought for disruption to all miseries, and eventually he found a way which led to the disruption. Consequently, we may understand that the foundation of Buddhism is a process of disruption. The first point that I've just made will lead to my second point. If we need a disruption to all miseries, we need, first of all, to know what exactly to be disrupted. In other words, we should know the contents of disruption. For this, I would like to refer a modified version of the Four Noble Truths. Putting it simply, we need to realize there are pressing problems in the world, such as uncertainties, unfulfilled desires. This type of elusive reality or mental distress are called dukkha in Pali language. When problems are identified, we need to analyze them so as to produce some possible solutions. This is the second truth, cause or causes of the dukkha. As the solutions are proposed, we need to test these proposed solutions so as to make the best options out of them. This I understand the noble truth of cessation of dukkha. Finally, the solutions are tested and the best one are opted. We apply the best options of practice. This then is the noble truth or the noble path that leads to cessation of the dukkha. If we replace the third noble truth, the theme of the present symposium, that is disruption, it will become a disruption of dukkha. With the fourth noble truth as the truth or the path that leads to disruption of dukkha, based on the aforementioned second point, let me explain my third point. In the opening verses of Dhammapada, we read that mind foreruns all evil conditions. Mind is chief, mind make are they. If one speaks or acts with a wicked mind, because of that, pain pursues him, even as the wheel that follows the hoof of the draw ox. The second verse, mind foreruns all good conditions. Mind is chief, mind make are they. If one speaks or acts with a pure mind, because of that, happiness follows him, even as a shadow that never leaves. In the first set of verses cited above, we are informed that since the mind is chief, an unattended mind will result in undesired karmic consequences. Reversely, however, in the second set of the aforementioned verses, it stated that a pure mind would improve our karmic outcome for the better. Here, I'd like to concur a very illuminating observation, which states that in the Buddhist doctrine, mind is the starting point, the focal point, and also the liberated and purified mind of a saint, the culminating point. In other words, we learn from our practice in Buddhism is to understand, cultivate, and refine our mind. When mind is refined, then it's easier to be truly in command of our life. In case of selfishness, disruption can be achieved by mindfulness or altruism. When hatred comes, awareness of compassion is the ultimate way of disruption. Above all, when ignorance is prevailing, the way of disruption is to acquire contemplative wisdom for awareness of insight. And even more importantly, when ignorance occupies our mind, disruption can be attained by means of orientation of mind towards the mindfulness of self-reflection. When awareness rises, disruption would occur, namely disruption of ignorance. Based on disruption, we need more work to disrupt the disruption. In other words, we should not attach to disruption because disruption is not the end. It's merely an effective means to the end, which is the ultimate refinement of the mind. To summarize, I have in this speech outlined 3 points of Buddhist way of disruption. Disruption of worry, miseries, based on which the everlasting happiness, peace, and harmony will be attained. First, we recognize that the miseries of life need a meaningful disruption. Second, purification of mind by way of awareness or mindfulness is the basic, yet essential means to reach that disruption. Thirdly, it's of great importance that disruption of impure mind is accompanied by reorientation of mind to purify and refinement, which would expectedly lead to the sustained happiness, peace, and harmony of an individual mind, as well as the constant peace and harmony of the external world. Finally, may I thank you for your enduring patience and very kind attention. I would like to sincerely wish all be happy and healthy. May I also extend my best wishes to the families of all participants in this wonderful conference. May all of us be living in a world of constant happiness, perpetual peace, and abiding harmony, achieved by perfect disruptions. Thank you.
Thank you, Venerable Kwang. May we invite you to remain on stage, if we could request you to remain on stage for the plaque presentation, Venerable.
May we also please invite Mr. Chng on stage to present the plaque to Venerable Kwang. Thank you.
Mr. Chng, please.
Thank you, Venerable Kwang.
Now may we invite, thank you, Venerable. May we invite Venerable Hwee on stage. Venerable Hwee is the president of the Dharma Drum Institute of Liberal Arts of Taiwan and the honorary advisor of the Institute of Chinese Buddhism. So Venerable Professor Hwee, please.
Thank you, Venerable Hwee and Mr. Chng.
Thank you, Venerable and Mr. Chng. Now, we will have a very short 10 minutes break. So, because we have an exciting lineup of activities, don't we?
Yes, so coming up after the break, we have a talk by Venerable Professor Hwee on taking charge of your own destiny. After that, we'll be having a dialogue dealing with life disruption and crisis. So please remember, if you have any questions, you may go to the online form to ask those questions. And now we'll be going for the break.
So we'll see you in 10 minutes' time. So if we will meet right back here, so we'll see everyone here right then. Thank you.
Thank you. See you later.